Napier, where it's pretty much do or die for these teams. It's the pass away to Tia, and Fumo's in for a second. So Hawke's Bay have got the job done.
From a standing start, Talai's through into the backfield, tries to do a job on the fullback, sprinting away down the left edge, Kalapu. What a memorable day for Harbour as they secure a home quarter-final.
Auckland get the job done. They will play North Harbour in the quarterfinals of the Bunnings NPC.
And he let his brother know he wasn't having fun.
Oh, he'll be dining out on that for a lifetime.
Nareki got away from him. Still going Mataele. Now he sends it off for Toi Hepi. And Mataele gets it back.
And they go into the quarterfinals in a really good space.
But they needed to win this afternoon to book a place in the quarterfinals, and they have done it.
Wellington, a statement performance in the last match of the round robin. They will march into the quarterfinals.
Attacking lineup, Bay are playing well against the head. It's over! Waikato have it! Waikato get it out! And we're coming back here next week!
What a result for Waikato. So unlucky for the Bay of Plenty. Good evening, tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome into the breakdown, and it was so great to have a standalone weekend of NPC where we could digest all the action. We're going to digest it all on the program tonight, plus so much more. Sir John Kerwin, Mills Muliaina, Justin Marshall, and for Jeff Wilson. Great to have you here because it's school holiday. So how are you two? Are you in survival mode at the moment?
Well, we're in survival mode, but Jeff has obviously taken the initiative. And he's got himself out of the country and he's lying on a beach somewhere. Hope you're having a good time, Goldie. Got your spot though, buddy. Don't you worry about it.
Mills, for you, how do you entertain the little nippers?
I'm only just surviving, and because it's been bad weather, we've just let them loose outside into play in the puddles. Who needs a swimming pool, right? Get them amongst the puddles. Who cares?
Exactly. JK, how was your week?
Really good, thank you. Yeah, I did nothing yesterday for the first time for a long time. I watched NPC, laid on the couch. It was raining outside, loved it.
Yeah, not bad.
NPC, Mills, we're coming for you next week. Bay of Plenty, Waikato, Damian Mckenzie breaking hearts after 9 rounds of the odds and evens tables. We finally have our quarterfinalists in the National Provincial Championship. One title this year, remember? This is the odds table. Wellington on top, Waikato followed by Bay of Plenty and Hawke's Bay. Making room, of course, Otago Counties, Manukau Southland. Season is over for them. And if you look at the other side, Canterbury Marshy storming through 9 wins from 10 matches. North Harbour, Auckland and Northern. That is massive for Northern, making it into the quarterfinals over some of the big hitters, Tasman and Taranaki.
Yeah, I'm just really happy that it's back together. I think it's great. I think it's been great for the tournament. Northern with a surprise for me, like unbelievable results. But I'm really looking forward to the Battle of the Bridge. How long since the Battle of the Bridge has meant something, you know? So for me, it's awesome. I can't wait for that, Millsy.
But also, Waikato versus Bay of Plenty again, hey? I can't wait to see that happen. And like today's match, I mean, even you're talking about, you know, Northern taking on Canterbury and the way they had to do it through, you know, their storm week. You know, obviously Bay of Plenty had to do the same, and Waikato, you know, coming back and then having the repeat next week. This is what we wanted, isn't it? It's been, you know, what we've been asking for in terms of our national provincial competition, that it's this tight. And I mean, going into the quarterfinals, anyone could win.
And great blend as well, having not only the nucleus of the NPC sides all there and those players that are performing, but then the injection of some All Blacks as well into the squads this weekend has made it even more interesting. And it'll be, I guess, you know, over the next couple of weeks, how much involvement they have before they get pulled out for that end-of-year tour. So, yeah, a hell of a competition, man. It has been the best in a very long time.
Do you actually want them coming back?
Well, it's always
just
Canterbury don't need them, let's be honest.
No, well, but Canterbury brought back Braden Enoy. He came back into the mix. And, you know, like, they've got plenty of depth in the centres. But, look, I still feel that there's opportunities there for everybody to get time off the bench, or All Blacks to get time off the bench. Yeah, I think it's good to have them there.
Is this what you thought the results would be, given the fact this year it had changed into odds and evens pools? Did you think that some of these smaller unions would be jumping up above some of these bigger teams?
The last competition was, for me, just senseless. People need to understand the competition, and you understand this, and anyone's got a chance. I mean, last year, some of the teams were were beating the other teams and then they were playing for the championship or whatever it's called. I just thought it was ridiculous. But now you know what's happening and it's all good. And Northland, if they show some consistency, deserve to be there. So I think it's fantastic.
Hawke's Bay is another one. I think the Shield too. It's probably enhanced the Shield and what it sort of means to, what it meant to them, and obviously Wellington taking it off them, and a couple of weeks ago. I think it's made it even better. So I think those are probably the. I mean, albeit we say Hawke's Bay might have been one of those lower unions, but in the last couple of years they've actually been really, really good. Northland. Absolutely, Jake. I think they were probably the surprise package. The way they've come about, the game plan. The injection of sort of a little bit of youth, but some of the experience around NPC has really come to fruition for them.
I think what's been a massive positive as well is how the Super Rugby franchises have had dominance in years gone by, but now that players have been given the ability to go back to their home provinces, it's spread the talent, and because of that, it's given the opportunity for younger players to grow around those Super Rugby players, to learn, so they've got stronger, and each squad has got better depth. You haven't got those big unions with a massive amount of players and not getting utilised. They've been distributed across the board. Probably a couple of them that are anomalies are Southland and Northland, which makes it even more miraculous how they've achieved what they've achieved, because they probably haven't got a great amount of super players going to their squads, but that's really helped players going back to their homes.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a great idea. Most of the Auckland guys have gone to counties, though. That's what's... But I didn't actually agree with it to start with, Marshy. I thought, but actually you're right. I think it gives a great opportunity. And if you're a young professional, you'd actually want to make the right decision, win your Millsy, about where you're going to get the most games, where you're going to... We're probably going to talk about it later in the show. It's no use going and sitting on the bench if you're a young fella trying to make a super comp. So, if there's two good halfbacks in Auckland, you might as well just leave.
Yeah, but I still think there's a real good balance as well in terms of guys that are from that union or from that area, that catchment, to actually stay, and that's probably brought the fans along as well. There's a real connection between the fans and how proud they are of their province, really, and there's a really nice balance between how that sort of happened too.
Well, remember the Voce de Corridoro, the voices of the corridor last week about Roger Tuivasa-Sheck and this potential contract on the table from the Roosters. It's been the talk of the town all week, and there's more chat, JK, because yesterday for Auckland, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck has moved. He's in the number 12 jersey, he's named it 12, starts on the wing, plays the game on the wing. What do we read into this?
Oh, phone call from Fozzie to the coaches, for sure. I know that Craig McGrath came out afterwards and said, we wanted him to just relax and enjoy his footy in Rome. I mean, firstly, you're playing on the right wing, and I've been out there, and on a wet day, you're not going to get the ball. So that was wrong. Also, when players pass from left to right, it's harder for them. So if you're going to play in Rome, go on the left wing. So I just didn't get it. I thought it was absolutely senseless. I mean, here's a guy that's moved, wants to play 12. We've seen him play 10 minutes of a test match at 12, and then they name him at 12 and put him on the wing. I just don't get it. Someone's had to have called.
Hang on, let's go back a couple of steps to something quite pivotal you said in that statement. He wants to play 12. Do you know that for sure, that he wants to play 12? Or
no, I have no idea.
Was it decided that that's the best position for RTS, that that's where they feel he'll be best utilised, and has he been?
Yeah, OK, fair enough. But if you played your whole league career at fullback, wouldn't you just say, I want to play fullback?
Yeah, possibly. Or you would want to play a position that gives you more time and space.
But
there's a lot of congestion with line speed now in around 9, 10, 12. And it doesn't give somebody with the ability of his footwork to line a player up and completely bamboozle him with that lightning step and feet that he's got, because he's always getting a player at the same time he's getting the ball. So that's my thought process is, give him some opportunities to play across the field with more space.
When he first came in, do you think the All Blacks looked at where there was potentially a gap, and maybe the gap was at 12, not at fullback?
Maybe.
Originally, it's always a hard transition. When you look at guys that come in and this is a specialist role, playing at 12. And so when I heard that the Blues were going to, put him at 12 and things like that, it's really quite a hard, position to play, because you've got to think about the outside. I suppose it's a little bit different to league. To your point, Marshy, he wants a little bit of freedom. That's what he gets in league. Fullback in rugby to league is a lot different, also. So perhaps I see what McGrath's saying is, give him a bit of time to really enjoy it. You've got to remember, and the thing was, he came into rugby, he was really disrupted because he didn't get an NPC campaign on because of COVID. Then he, straight into the, Super Rugby campaign. But I would have thought if they were going to persist in him being, a 12, put him back out there in 12 and just get him used to, wet conditions, carrying the ball and having enjoyment there, rather than relying on your insides to say, well, set me up to give me a little bit of space to be able to run it.
I'm not buying it.
I don't care. Because
I'm not buying it.
What we're also trying to say
is... This is what I reckon, Marshy.
What you can't do, and you'll know this from having played wing, that what you can do is also get yourself into the game from counter-attack. Now, look, on a wet evening, it's hard because of the conditions, getting there. But on a dry day, you can also you're not sitting waiting for ball. If you work hard back, someone like Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, with, again, his ability and his vision that he brings from rugby league, from coming from fullback or wing, to get his special set of skills into the game, because he's going to have time and space on the ball. At 12, you can't get back for counter-attack, can you, Mills?
Nah.
You're in the defensive line. If the opposition kick, you've been up in the face of the kicker. You're not getting back to launch a counter-attack. Whereas in the back three, that's basically what being a back three player is. Getting yourself into the game. The All Black Test match, he didn't touch the ball once.
I'm listening to your reasoning.
And he was on for 12 minutes.
I get it, right?
Yep.
But what I'm saying is I don't think that happened. I understand everything you're saying, but what I think happened is Anton Leonard-Brown is coming back into the All Blacks as a specialist, and if he wants to go on that tour, he will need to play two positions. As simple as that. So I think it's a phone call.
So does this increase
I'm not disagreeing with you
chances?
guys. I'm agreeing with the whole theory of playing on the wing, loosening up. I don't know with Roger where he wants to play. Maybe we should ask him.
Well, that's a good point.
We should.
What do you think
Can we get to him?
His speed first came on board. They played him at 12, but then he had a little stint at wing. I think it just gives him a little bit of freedom to be able to say, well, I'm going to enjoy my rugby. I would have thought it's a massive risk for Alama to say, based on an All Black coach's phone call, they're almost going to the quarterfinals to actually name him at 12 first and foremost, but then pop him out to the wing. That's a big call to be able to listen to All Black coach. Considering.
Well, why else would you do it? Like, you've named him at 12 and you change him on the morning of the game. Like, you wouldn't do that either. That doesn't make sense either. I mean, I think it's positive either way. Like, he had a bad day, but I think that any back nowadays has to play in two positions. I get that. But when I looked at it, and I don't disagree with what you guys are saying technically, because you're both right, but I just don't think it's got anything to do with that. I think he's got to play two positions, and if they're going to take him on the All Blacks, then he might find himself on the wing. If he wants to make the World Cup, you look at all our backs now, right? Who doesn't cover a couple of positions? I mean, Geordie covers three.
Yeah, he's unique.
Well,
that's my theory anyway.
All apart from halfback, he did say, didn't he? I think he's pretty much across the board, Geordie. But it's an interesting conversation. The guy's a superstar.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I just want to see him be able to play.
We all just want to see him play.
Let's see him use those skills that he's got that are so unique.
I would actually like to see his composure under pressure from a test match from the start. I know it's high risk, we're running out of games, but I'm with you, Marcia. I think he's a superstar, and I reckon if you put him out there in the tight moments, I reckon he'll do something for you.
Isn't that why you should have played him in Auckland as a 12, to pick up those fundamentals of of a position that's a real specialist, rather than, I get it, okay, make him enjoy playing rugby, that's fine, but you've stuck with him and he's an All Black, he's a superstar. Let him pick up some experience in that position at 12 at NPC level, where you can do pick up some of those specialist sort of I suppose skills in that position.
And if you're going to if he was going to choose, right? Let's think about this, and I haven't thought about this till right now actually. If he was going to choose, and you are a competitor like him, and he wants to be the starting number in an All Black jersey for the World Cup, which position would you choose at the moment?
Yeah.
Wouldn't be wing, would it? Will Jordan,
the only rebuttal
Rees.
I'm going to offer is, because I know we need to move on, that's cool, is as a 12, the All Blacks have been massively benefited in the last few test matches by 12 that can kick.
Yeah.
So you've got to be incredibly balanced as that player now. Be a first receiver, be a hard carrier, be a kicking option, and defensively shut down that zone. So you've got to have all those requirements. I'm just wondering whether or not that's too much pressure for a guy that's just trying to find his way and love the game again. Don't know. That's my thought process in it. I like to see him out wide.
It's a great debate, and sorry, I do just want to throw one other thing out there, which I think we need to talk about. Quinn Tupaia, originally MCL, out for 3 months. That has now been upgraded to an ACL, surgery, and 9 months. Absolutely devastated. I think we can all say that for Quinn, because at this stage, that brings him back into rugby 3 months before the World Cup next year. That changes things, doesn't it, Marshy?
Oh, it does, yeah, and it's devastating because he was just in such a period of momentum. You know, breakout couple of seasons for the Chiefs, deserved his All Black spot, has never let them down when he's got his opportunity in a jersey, and he was taken out illegally and with thuggery. And I felt the sanction on Darcy Swain was too light. I thought he should have got double what he got. And for this poor young kid, he's now going to have to rehab, and knees are not easy. Yeah. We wish him all the very best, because obviously it's not easy to get back from, is it? And what a waste of a year that happened unnecessarily.
And that's the thing. I think because of the way it happened, you know, and that's why it's so hard. You know, it's difficult to actually. I mean, imagine what he's going through, Quinn. I mean, the way it was done, and you talk about thuggery, it was purposely done. And to be out like that, he's not a. I mean, his chances are now slim. Also, you know, he's not. He hasn't been there. He's only been there a couple of years for the All Blacks. So to fight back the way he needs to, but. You know, obviously, you know, good luck to him in his rehab. But the way it was, I think it's probably harder to take because of the way it happened.
Yeah, and often, you know, I think we underestimate how much mental health pressure our players are on. And the thing I liked about Quinn this year was they dropped him at the Chiefs. He was a little bit out of form, fought his way back in, came back in, nailed it. You know, they're all things that, as a player, we've all been through, and you love doing that. And then to see him feeling more comfortable. I mean, it's not easy feeling comfortable in a test match. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't hear if Swain actually went into the change room, sat with him and apologised and stuff. You know, I haven't heard that yet. Yeah. I've seen other injuries where you think, oh, I didn't mean to do it. And, you know, the player's gone in and they've spoken to each other and sorted it. I haven't heard that. So that also disappoints me.
Absolutely disappointed for him. Disappointed, but we know he'll be back, right? Yeah. He's only young, and all the very best with your recovery, Quinn. Time now to pick why your team will win the NPC this year. We're going to start off with you, Marshy, because Canterbury right now are the team to beat, and your side is back for the first time in a few years, aren't they?
Yes, they are. But yes, they are.
Why do you win
this is
year?
Hard to do without being super arrogant.
Oh, really. Come on, that's okay.
But I will be. Can we bring out some imagery of those big poles at Orange Series Stadium with all the titles on them? Because that's why. Like, these guys are. They have massive rhythm at the moment. They're playing very good rugby. They've got depth in their squad. Like winning 9 out of their 10 games and only dropping that one against Taranaki. They've got a lot of players that I guess super rugby players that Scott Robertson will be pleased to see the way that they're playing. Looks like they will, bar catastrophic situation, have a home final. Can somebody knock them over on their own grass? That's probably why they're the team to beat.
Were they cruising yesterday?
No, they came up against a determined side. Otago played well, very well.
They're way better, Otago, eh?
Yeah. I was impressed with Otago, have been this season. They just had a period where they lost their way. But that's Canterbury. If you're going to beat Canterbury, you're going to have to beat them at home, and you're going to have to do it against a team that's playing with massive confidence at the moment.
That was not arrogant at all.
Thanks.
JK, why does Auckland win it?
Oh, I think they've had a slow build to the season. There was some really good stuff yesterday. AJ Lamb was good. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck covering 12, 15, 14 and everything. So, yeah, I think our battle will be up front. The guys need to go to work hard. But I think they're peaking at the right time. And next week is a huge one because I think North Harbour are very, very good as well. I just don't pick them because there's always been that rivalry. But they are very good as well. And so I think if they can get through next week, they're going to be hard to beat.
Does anyone agree or disagree?
No, we knew he was going to say that, so we'll just let him have his moment in the sun, you know. Thank you.
Mills, Waikato. First, they've got to get past the Bay of Plenty before they even think about a title. But if they do that...
Admittedly, when I sort of seen I had to explain why, you know, this morning why I had that pick, and then I seen the game and I thought, far out, they're going to get a hiding from Bay of Plenty. But I think that really illustrates why I think they're going to win. I think they've got really good backbone. They haven't had it as smooth as the Canterbury's. And you know, I'm with you, Chris. I think it's not arrogant that Marshy sort of brings that up about Canterbury. We often sort of bypass him because they're always sort of there or thereabouts, right? But I love the way this team, the Waikato, have come together. You know, they've got a really good... and today was a good point in that. Their bench came on nice. They've got good halfback half-backs there, and Xavier Rowe and Cortez Ratama, that, you know, either one of them could start. The key for me, though, obviously, is, you know, when those teams get named at the end of the season, you know, is Damian Mckenzie, because he has been massive for them in terms of the way he's sort of played and how flat he takes it to the line, and they've had to adjust to that, because a lot of the forwards, and you would have seen a lot of the passes that he passed today, they're fairly hard and, you know, right to the line. So if he's not there come, you know, the semis, which I'm, you know, predicting they make the semis after Bay, then, you know, whoever comes in to fill that role, they're going to play a different style, and they're going to have to adapt.
You happy with him at 10? You think that's where you get the most of his skill set?
I think.
Or are they playing him there because there's no other option?
Yeah, I think for that reason. I think you're the latter. I think he brings a little bit more in terms of the style they play. They've got, you know, a really nice back row, you know, especially with the Jacobson brothers that are sitting there. You want to feed off that. I think the last thing you want to be doing is relying on, you know, like you say, counter-attack ball for Mckenzie to get himself into the game. So I think you know, the balance is there with him playing at 10, taking the borderline. And you also got to remember, he's come back from Japan to get himself used to the style of rugby here in New Zealand, and the way the Waikato guys have sort of managed that, I think it's been pretty good.
I love him at 10. And I love him at 10 because he plays like a rugby league standoff. So he plays really, really different to a New Zealand traditional 10.
Yep.
He's up flat. He runs lateral. And if you can run lateral and have options around you, it just shows a different picture to the defence. And I reckon we should really consider it for the All Blacks, just because it's so different and it breaks up what's in front of you. I think that, you know, probably the Roosters or the Bulldogs will be looking at him just because he's so good at that position. And that's exactly how Cleary plays.
Wait, was that contract gone to him now, is it?
Yeah, no,
Roosters contract.
Roger's out till 2023.
You got it wrong. It's Damian Mckenzie.
Well, no, but that's why I like him, and I think it shows a different picture. And I think sometimes we're scared to do that in rugby. But I reckon even for the All Blacks, I mean, I love him. I reckon he's our best impact player. We missed him at the last World Cup. I think his selection is the most interesting one for the end of the year, because then what do you do with Perofeta, who I think's got some ability at both 10 and 15. But Mckenzie just shows you different pictures, and that's difficult for the defence.
Well, while you three all talk up the big unions with all the money and the big signings, someone's got to stick up for the small guys, the unions from the smaller cities like Bay of Plenty, who play with so much heart. I feel like on their day they can beat anyone. They were so unlucky not to beat Waikato today. But not just that. This year they're playing for something so much bigger than this jersey, than their region, and that is their brother, Sean Wainui. You see it after every game this year. They all take to social media and they put 3 Te Rastafari hearts, green, yellow and red, after a Bay of Plenty post, and they're doing it for him this year. So I think that's why they can win.
Oh, it's incredible to have emotion, and Sean Wainui was such a talisman type figure, you know, like that Māori culture, the person that he was. You can see how that could easily buy in with the players and what they want to give each week. They're an impressive side to watch.
They loved him, and I loved how you sort of made out they didn't have much money, but it must be pretty hard running around in Papamoa Beach and the Mount Maunganui Beach.
You would know, you've got a batch in the Bay of Plenty, Mills.
Bay of Plenty, so yeah, I really feel for them.
Both of you too.
We're the poor cousins at why he know rich guys from the Bay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's beautiful to keep everybody remembering Sean and how important it is, especially Mental Health Awareness Week. So, you know, I think those guys are playing in his honour, and I think that motivation is an awesome one to have. So, unfortunately, emotion doesn't get you to the finals. They shouldn't have lost today, Kirsty. I'm afraid they're up.
They've got a do or die next week.
They let it slip, and that's not good enough at that level. So they need to go away and go, okay, how do we let that go? Because they've given away a home semi-final or quarter-final, you know, and that's big, because no one wants to go to your stadium in the Bay.
It's a great place to be. Well, the All Blacks 15, no, not the actual All Blacks, this is a second side, will be coached by Leo McDonald. They're going on a 2-match tour of the UK. First they play Ireland A, and then they take on Scott Razor's coached Barbarian side. Now, that 26-man squad will be named just a couple of days after the All Blacks end of year tour squad is named on Sunday. What sort of squad are we expecting? Are we expecting a development squad? Are we expecting the next best players that haven't quite made the All Blacks or have missed out on that squad? What are we expecting from this?
Well, I think importantly also what we need to make sure that people are aware of is this is basically an All Black selection. So the All Black selectors are selecting it. Leon's coaching it. He said that he'll sit in on it and he might have a little bit of input into some players, but that's a side that they are selecting. So they will be looking for players they want to see more of. Some players that they've seen enough of might be unlucky. And then it's how far do they go development and youth-wise?
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, for me, you know, what do you do? Right? Do you send some of your All Blacks numbers 30 to 36 that have been in and around the squad and haven't played? Perifeta comes to mind straight away. Fakatava, it's 2 games. Do you play them at 9 at 10 because you actually need them to play some footy at the highest level, or you're going to take them on the Northern Tour and they're going to sit on the bench or not play? Yeah. So I think they're the biggest decisions. Otherwise, do you take some experience and a whole lot of young guys? I think they'll be thinking about the World Cup, so we might see some of the guys that'll be disappointed not to make the All Black squad, but hey.
I think if you look at it from an All Black point of view, I mean, where are the positions they want to see? And for me, really, is guys in the midfield, because we need, we've been hurt a lot. We still haven't sort of realised, who's going to cover, that centre position should Rieko Ioane go down. So that's probably an area where they're going to, bolster up in some sort of way and say, well, we'll pick someone that we think we want to go and see them before the Rugby World Cup. Halfback's probably another one, that third sort of spot. Who gets that? Because there's so much competition. So if you're picking a Christie and an Aaron Smith for the All Blacks, Fakatava is obviously the third halfback. Do you send Fakatava and someone totally different as opposed to sending, a Brad Weber? I think you leave Brad Weber and the likes of TJ Perenara behind. Those guys don't necessarily need to play themselves into the All Blacks. I think you give them that time off to then really, energise, for next year. They've seen enough of them. They know their experience. So let's see where these guys, what they've got. And then I think there's a mixture of the future. And that for me, really is key. I think our positions are covered, really nicely from the front row. But I think in terms of the Rugby World Cup, the All Black coaches will be thinking, particularly centre is probably going to be our biggest sort of issue. And we've had to try and find, a couple of pairs.
So if you're looking at a few new names to put out there that haven't tasted what that All Blacks environment is like, JK, who would you throw out there?
Voce di Corridoio. Don't know a lot about this young man, but Levi Aumua, I've heard that he got the envelope under the door. Don't make yourself available for Samoa or Fiji, because we've got some sights on you. And that might be post-World Cup. So someone like him who they used to do it as the apprenticeship, Marshy, for the All Blacks. So this is a great opportunity to go, this guy's 18, 19, 20. We saw that young boy yesterday for Otago. So just take them. It's going to be a great learning experience for them and put that out there. I would rather they went away as the Barbars, because you do have the All Black brand on their chest, which means you can't take too many risks. Yeah. But someone like that, if you're going to go young, and then you could also take someone like TJ Perenara just to be the great leader that he is and make sure that, they understand the importance and the responsibility of winning in that jersey, because it won't be easy.
What youngsters would you take, Marshy?
Look, I think I'm thinking of players that can play for the All Blacks at Rugby World Cup should we need them, or are going to be All Blacks post-World Cup, because we're going to have an exodus. There's no doubt about it. It always happens. And quite a lot of these All Blacks are well into their 30s. So I totally agree with what Mills said. I think I would go down the pathway of putting TJ or Brad Weber in the All Blacks on the India tour, and I would put Fakatava and Perifeta into that 15. They still, should there be injuries, because they're in the UK, can slot into the All Blacks should they be needed. You know what Brad Weber's going to give you, but we haven't seen enough of Fakatava, we haven't seen enough of Perifeta. They need game time in big stadiums, like at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, against good opposition like the Barbarians and Irish 15. So I would go down that pathway. But I'd also take someone like Fabian Holland. Like, this guy, it was monumental last night. And he's been developing brilliantly. He's in the system, he's a big man, and we need big, strong ball carriers. And I think he's the type of player that could be one of those bolters that they take along. And then the other one that I want to speak about is along the Perifeta Fakatava line is Damian Mckenzie. he's suffering a little bit from that Japan syndrome. He's not quite back to where he was, in my mind, personally. And don't think throwing him into the All Black environment where he's probably unlikely to force his way in to maybe even the reserves at the most. He's probably better to go into that All Blacks 15 and get game time. And I don't know whether it's at 10 or 15, but we need to find out where he sits for the All Blacks come next year. And that might not be anywhere, but it might be, man, we forgot how good this guy is. Personally, that's what I think, where they need to go.
No, I don't agree.
Yeah,
no,
that's good.
I don't agree, just because I think that he is the greatest impact player that I've ever seen. And we are going to need that late in Europe. And I think he does cover 10 and 15. And we just don't have enough test matches left. So
hang on. I think Beauden Barrett's a pretty good impact player at the moment.
Yeah, but he's starting at 15 because his brother's at 12.
Okay, you're righto.
Yeah, no, seriously, I just think he brings something really different. And I would totally agree with you, Marshy, if we had another 12 months. But how many test matches do we actually have to the next World Cup? 3?
9.
Yeah, no less, I think. Is it? I think we've got 4 up north.
We've got 4 up north and then
4 next year or something.
4 next year or 5 max.
So, there might be 9 test matches. We just don't have the time. I agree with Fakatava and Perofeta, right? But I just think you've got to take the guys that you're going to take overseas next year, and you've got to know.
Damian Mckenzie poses a different sort of headache because he brings a hybrid sort of model, you know, and the way he sort of plays. He's not a traditional 10 that you put on the side like a Perofeta that can obviously play fullback, but is going to go on and steadily get himself in the game. This is a guy that's going to come on and bring in impact in so many different ways. It can almost, the way he plays also, be, you know, detrimental to the way the team's actually going. So he brings something a little bit different. For me, really, you know, Fakatawa needs to play. He's the third halfback. Christie's sort of sitting there. So when someone else falls over, or if someone does fall over, like Aaron Smith experience, you've still got guys that are sitting there, and Brad Weber and TJ Perenara. Do we need to really thrash them before that? Like, I think you leave them behind and then start bringing in new guys. I think, yeah, you take Fakatawa over. He's your third halfback. You maybe bring on a youngster like a Cameron Roigard, just to give him that experience. I think he's played really well for Counties Manukau. He's a different sort of halfback, and in terms of his presence, he's tall. He's got a nice kicking game, where I think, you know, that would, you know, lacked a little bit in the halfback space. So give him a taste. Give him a taste of New Zealand. Now, you're not risking anything too much by leaving the more experienced TJ Perenaras and the Brad Webbers. So we're going to be there or thereabouts. They have a great Super Rugby campaign, and they could be starting for that. You know, so I think you've got to give these guys a bit of a taste in this sort of, you know, in that kind of environment to see how far they push on, as opposed to just keeping with the guys that don't necessarily need to prove themselves.
Another interesting dynamic that we haven't actually mentioned is Razor coaching the Barbarians. Does he pull some Kiwis out of New Zealand as well? Who gets the first pick? Do they get rung by Foster, McDonald or Razor? Say, come on over.
Well, absolutely. And then that's the New Zealand Rugby Union about who they would release and are willing to release should Razor go to them and say, I'd like to take TJ Perenara as captain on my side. And what an amazing experience for a great All Black, you know, to have the opportunity to go over there and play against an All Blacks 15 and get some rugby. And the All Blacks get both out of the equation, don't they? Because they don't take him, they take a younger player, but they still get to see him and play in that environment. So, yeah, that's a really valid good... I think one thing that is certain out of all of this, hell of a good initiative.
Yeah.
This is good. Yeah. This is where we need to get to grow that depth and find out about our players. We haven't had it for quite a long time.
How is Ethan Blackadder? Is he out for the season? No good?
No.
Yeah. I mean, I think to Moore, I think that's exactly where we need to go. I'm pretty gutted that obviously Umanga Jensen's out as well, because I think he would have fitted it, you know, really nicely in that sort of tour. The way he's sort of come on, he's strong, he's balanced, and we're kind of missing that block-busting runner. I mean, it's gutting that he is injured, because I would have loved to see him out there just to try and hopefully push on and fill that void that we've got.
Should we have a little bet? We'll take a little bet. I reckon if Anton Leonard-Brown, if he goes on if the All Blacks pick him,
got to hear the bet.
If All Blacks pick him,
Anton Leonard-Brown.
Yeah.
Is that the bet?
Damian
they will pick him. There's the first bet.
Damian Mckenzie won't make their side. He'll go for New Zealand, the All Blacks 15.
So it's one or the other.
But you reckon he will be in that All Blacks team, yeah?
Anton Leonard-Brown?
No, Damian Mckenzie.
Yeah, I reckon he will be.
Yeah, and I think if Anton Leonard-Brown's fit, he will go with the All Blacks and Damian will miss out, but he'll be in that All Blacks 15. For $1.
He will be fit so long as he gets through the next couple of weeks of NPC, scheduled to be back against Bay of Plenty this weekend. Well, the Rugby World Cup, the Women's Rugby World Cup, is just 6 days away. We've been waiting for this for such a long time. It was supposed to be played last year. It was delayed due to COVID, and here we are. The opening day kicks off this Saturday. There are still tickets available, but not many. Be part of history because 30,000 tickets have already been sold. It's the biggest crowd ever for a Women's Rugby World Cup match, and you can be there to celebrate the action as well. Your trivia question before we take a quick break is this week. Fia'o Fa'amausili is being named in the World Rugby Hall of Fame. Who are the other 3 Black Ferns that already sit there? I'll give you a quick clue. One clue. Majority of them have been on the show.
Yeah, I know.
There you go. That is your question. We'll be back right after this.
Why you play rugby and why you want to be a Black Fern is really quite simple. It doesn't matter that we didn't have resources. It doesn't matter that we don't get the test matches like the All Blacks. Because at the end of the day, you're all there for the same reason. Making that legacy of the Black Ferns live on.
Like a Black Fern, let's go!
Rugby is a contact sport.
You've got to be able to tolerate a bit of pain. It's bloody tough.
Are you willing to die for the person that you're going to fight alongside with?
Every time I step into the change room, I get my superpowers.
The Black Ferns Wahine Tour Part 2 of the documentary is out this Thursday. There is a little sneak peek. Great to have you back here on The Breakdown, where we gave these guys and yourself at home the trivia question before the break, and that was Fia'o Fa'amausili is being added to the World Rugby Hall of Fame. There's 3 other Black Ferns already there. Who are they?
Spokesman?
Farah Palmer, Anna Richards, and no idea.
Yeah, we
Any other ideas?
We couldn't get the third one.
Was Hannah?
Mills? Hannah Porter?
Yeah.
Not Hannah, but let's take a look who the 3 are. It's an amazing honour. Fia'o Fa'amausili, Anna Richards, you're all right, Dr. Farah Palmer, and Huriana Manuel.
Yeah. Didn't
so
know
there
that.
are your 4 Kiwi women, your 4 Kiwi Wahine Tour, and make sure you watch that documentary this Thursday as well. That is all thanks to New Zealand On Air for helping us fund that one. Well, as we mentioned, the Women's World Cup is this Saturday. JK, you're going to be there, and it's going to be a history-making day because we've won 5 World Cups, but we've never hosted a Women's World Cup right here in New Zealand, and the public finally getting behind this team.
Yeah, I think it's really important we support it. A couple of reasons. I think it's a World Cup. How many opportunities are we going to get to see one? And I think, you know, our Wahine are going to have a hard tournament. I think that we've had a rough run in, and that's not ideal. I know Wayne and Sir Ted are in there now, and you know, they've turned things around. But this English side that's come down is a very, very good side. They've got a professional competition behind them. They thumped us last year. You were saying they're ridiculous favourites,
$1.50 favourites, yeah.
And so, but it is a World Cup, and
yep.
We've all been to them and we've all lost them, and a World Cup is something special. So, you know, I think it's really important that the public help our Wahine and get in behind them, because I think it will definitely be an extra motivation.
How much analysis and research can these coaches and selectors do on these European sides, France and England, when we haven't played them and we've got totally new people in this team?
Valid question and a good question.
How do you do that? How do we know how we compare?
Yeah, it's difficult, and you've just got to look at trends, and they'll get a lot of those from the games that they played against them at the end of last year. But importantly, I think the focus has to be on the Black Ferns. There's undoubtedly been a real lift in their fitness. And that's something that Wayne Smith has always had a reputation for, having fit sides so that they think better. They're in the deep minutes of the games, they're in the fight. So I think that's probably a positive for them. You know, they know they're going to have to move these bigger women around because they're much more a mobile side, I think, the Black Ferns. And that's their opportunity. So, yeah, they certainly need everyone's support. And I tell you what, momentum in the World Cup is huge. Huge confidence for the players if they can get big crowds and the country gets behind them. Well, let's take a look at who they will be playing. There are 3 pools at this Rugby World Cup. The Black Ferns are in Pool A. They'll take on Australia in the opening match, Wales and Scotland. Mills, Marty talked about the positives. The Black Ferns are at home. It's a home World Cup. Does that come with positives and negatives, the pressure that's on you when you're at a home World Cup?
I think it comes with positive. I think, you know, history's on our side. Don't get me wrong. You know, we've got plenty of history to back that up. I think what they need is home crowd advantage in terms of the voice our people are going to give them, because they're in for a biggie. You know, France, the Irish, England as well. They're massive in terms of, you talk about the analysing. I think Wayne Smith, he's smart. He would have known, you know, how they want to play. So they've picked a team to absolutely, when they get to the final stage, that they can play a different style that we haven't quite seen. But they're in for a biggie, JK. This is going to be a massive task for the girls, and I just hope they get up. So we need their voice.
Yeah, that's what I like. I mean, for me, it's really important we play our style. And I think if we're fit enough and we play our style, will be hard to beat. And I like that about what Wayne's brought. We're not worried about how big and how mobile and, you know, the English and the French are. We're going to play our style, and we'll be hard to beat if we play our style.
And we're 100% behind the Black Ferns. Get behind them, because, as we say, just 6 days away, finally it is here, the Women's Rugby World Cup in New Zealand. And the quarterfinals are here for the NPC as well. So let's go through it. Starting off, Canterbury-Northland. Who wins that game? Is anyone picking an upset? Is anyone picking Northland?
It won't be an easy ride. They are a good side, Northland, and they pushed Canterbury hard in the round robin. I did that game, and they were in the fight. Canterbury will win, but Northland are capable.
Upset of the year if it does happen, though.
Yeah, it will be an upset.
Wellington, Hawke's Bay. Mills, you were saying how impressed with Hawke's Bay. Wellington, top of the table. We know they've got the Ramfurly Shield.
They're riding a high. I think, you know, Wellington might be, you know, too difficult to beat at home in this game.
JK, North Harbour, Auckland, the Battle of the Bridge. Your brothers.
Battle of the Bridge. North Harbour, exceptional season, I believe. They'll be hard to beat. I think it'll be a dominant, whoever dominates up front. You do not want the North Harbour backs to get the ball, and I think both forward packs will have to have their best game. So whoever dominates there, and hopefully it'll be Auckland, will win that game.
And just from the 2 neutrals, Waikato, Bay of Plenty, which side?
I'm going Bay of Plenty.
Thank you.
Waikato.
Waikato, OK. Thanks, JK. And
another bet.
Nothing. Finally, Panthers, Eels tonight. Who is it?
I'm going Panthers.
Yeah, I went too.
Panthers.
They all are. Grand final coming up tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.